You're listening to the podcast for all of the news, notes, and breakdowns for your Ohio State Buckeyes. This is Sons of the Shoe with Nick Wilson and Spencer German.
Oh my God, what a game. And fittingly, we're naming the episode after Jack Sawyer because it instantly cemented into Buckeye folklore for years to come with the scoop and score play to end it. I mean, that's where we're going to start, Jake, but it's hard to honestly pinpoint like a place to start because that game had a little bit of everything. It had tense moments. I thought Ryan Day was going to Ryan Day the game, especially after that third down call he ran when it was third and short. There was some, you talk about football being a game of inches, the old cliche. There was the Quinn Ewers sort of dump off throw that was like, how the hell did he do that? Like, that's the type of stuff that wins you a national championship. Just every step of the way, man. Like, that game stressed me the hell out. And just a euphoric moment watching Jack Sawyer run down the sideline and understand like the fate was being sealed there. But my God, that was something. I know you were hosting a show tonight, Jake, at 93, but you caught bits and pieces of this, and I'm sure it was pretty just kind of crazy watching it kind of unfold in that type of setting as well.
Yeah, I was just very thankful that by the time that it was time for Jack Sawyer to run down the sideline, we were off the air. We were done. So got to enjoy that one in real time without having to turn off my mic and scream at a TV that's like, I don't know, 15 feet away from me, and I'm watching with my head turned while also trying to talk about something completely unrelated. So that was it was good. It was absolutely electric. You can't pin that anywhere else. I think you have to start with Jack Sawyer when you talk about it. I don't know. So up in the studio, we actually had the McAfee broadcast. Okay. I don't know if they showed
that. Who picked the McAfee broadcast?
I want you one board op that would be running the TVs.
Jax.
No,
it wasn't.
The other one.
Dom?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot. Hold on. What is the point of watching the McAfee broadcast when the TV's muted? Like, what does that
I don't know. I don't know. But I don't know.
If you're gonna watch the McAfee broadcast, the whole point is that you want to hear McAfee. I don't understand why you'd pick that if you're on a muted TV. But okay,
that's where it went. Did the regular broadcast show the side-by-side angles of the two sidelines as Jack Sawyer was sprinting down the sideline?
No, it did not. So I guess you got a good for that play. I guess that worked out then. Yeah. In that instance, it worked out for you.
I got to see Sawyer sprinting down the sideline, and then side by side, it was Ryan Day on Ohio State sideline and Sarkisian on Texas sideline. And the difference was, it was cinema to see because you see the full Ohio State reaction of Ryan Day sprinting down there with Jack Sawyer and pumping his fist, jumping into the air, his headset flying off, and then Sarkisian just watching him sprint as he's just squatted on the sideline with his hand on his head. And it was just the entire emotions laid out from both sides. Just happened to be on the Ohio State side of it.
Well, so I mean, listen, the Jack Sawyer play, especially if this now, I honestly, okay, I'm not going to say like we'll diminish it entirely, but if they win the national championship, I mean that play skyrockets to top of like it's cemented in Buckeyes history forever. I mean, like, everyone always remembers the infamous, like, holy Buckeye call. That play is up there. Like, that play is up there in that lore if they pull this off and win a national championship. If they don't win the national championship, it's probably still up there. But maybe, it loses a little bit of its luster if it doesn't end with a title being hoisted. But my goodness. And here's the thing, man. Like, the Jack Sawyer experience has been so fascinating because he came in with hype on scales of the Bosa brothers and Chase Young. Like, that was what he was touted as. He was supposed to have like that stature as a player for Ohio State. And his first couple years, like, you just didn't see the same effectiveness that you probably saw from those other names that he was kind of being compared to, right? It just wasn't there for whatever reason. But last year, I thought late in the season, and especially in the bowl game they played in against Missouri, he came on strong, and I was like, all right, he's showing some signs. And then this year, there was moments where you had your doubts. I mean, the first Oregon matchup, this defense is night and day from that first Oregon matchup where they can get pressure with their front four now. Those guys, him and JT, are just wreaking havoc, and nobody has answers for them. They're getting held all the time. And we'll talk about the holdings and stuff in this game a little bit as well. But like, but now it's at a point where like he's making every big play for you. And so the slow burn to get to this point with Jack Sawyer, it might have been disappointing on some level because we expected so much from him. But man, is he going out in like the most euphoric way possible for a guy who, by the way, is an Ohio guy through and through. The guy who was sprinting to midfield to stop Michigan from planting the flag, almost like this. You woke up a monster, or you poked the bear type moment there, and he is taking his game to a whole nother level in the playoff now. I mean, it couldn't happen to a better kid. It couldn't happen to like a better. It couldn't be a better story that the Ohio kid is the one who is helping punch the ticket to the national championship game, and in a career that's been, there's been some criticisms for him, not on the level, obviously, of like what Ryan Day's gotten and the wrath that he's gotten, but there's been criticisms of Jack Sawyer and what he's done throughout his career. And to see it just being see the exclamation point of it be what he's been doing through this playoff. I mean, you can't script a better story. You really can't. Like I'm so happy for him. I'm as much as I'm happy for the team, and as much as I'm happy as an Ohio State fan. Like this is an incredible story, and I think the world of Jack, and he has been such an important part of what this team is doing right now to make this run to the national championship. It's remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, you plant the flag in at center field. Michigan didn't have to worry about who they were awakening, but apparently you awakened Jack Sawyer in the Ohio State offense.
Yeah.
Obviously, two different ways there, but Jack Sawyer was the one up at midfield ripping away the flag, and now he's ripping the ball out of Quinn Ewer's hands on 4th and goal in the most pivotal point of his career up to this point. So I don't know how you paint it other way. Like you said, disappointment, I would say, is a fair word to use for the beginning of his career at Ohio State, just compared to expectations to what you got. But I think everyone forgets about all that, and when your senior years turned out the way that his has, and he's having the playoff run that he's had, you forget about everything through the first 3 years of your career anyway, good or bad, and you're really defined legacy-wise by what you did your senior season. Yeah. And if it goes on to help Ohio State win a national championship, it'll go down as, one of the premier edge rushers in Ohio State history.
Well, and that's the thing that's remarkable. I know Lima's talked about this at the station. Like it's weird to know like a group of Buckeyes that have never beaten Michigan have a chance to go down as legends. And Jack Sawyer, I think, is at the forefront of that sort of image of these guys who never got a pair of gold pants, but they have a chance to do something incredible and remarkable here by finishing off the season that they came back for. These guys all came back. Like, part of the reason this team is so unique is it's a blend of the old era of college football, where it was like you just got to win the recruiting classes and bring in all the best recruits, mixed in and blended into the NIL era, where you're paying guys to join your team, and you supplement guys like Caleb Downs and Quinshon Judkins and Will Howard. And it's this super team of all super teams. And to see those guys who came back for this being the ultimate goal. Yes, Michigan was part of that. The Big Ten championship was part of that. They didn't get those things, but for the ultimate goal, like the sacrifices they're making, and to pull it and to get to this point in that journey, I mean, just so special. And like I said, like you could have asked for a better script, because it could have been like you check all 3 boxes, right? Like you win all the things you were trying to win. But in terms of like redemption arcs and all these different things, this has been so fun. And again, I can't, it's hard to put into words like how I feel for Jack Sawyer, because just an incredible moment. They kept talking about, you probably didn't catch this on the broadcast, but Jack Sawyer and Quinn were roommates when they came to Ohio State together in the same class. And so they sort of talked at like just the dynamic of like, he's making the biggest play on their, quarterback, the star quarterback on the team you're playing. And he joked after the game, like him and Quinn had a fun little moment where Quinn sort of like said to him after the play, like, man, screw you. Like, yeah, but under, like, in a respectful way of like, yeah, 2 guys understanding like great players just making great plays. So again, like all of that. And I honestly, Jake, I don't want to keep, just to step on your toes here, but think about this. Like if they had won the Michigan game, Jack probably has like the like several of the biggest plays of the season, like the season saving plays in that Michigan game with the pick that he made in the end zone. If that would have somehow led to them winning, and now this play, like again, it is something for the ages, like legendary type stuff that Jack Sawyer's putting on right now.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get anywhere this season without Jack Sawyer. I mean, even beyond just like we can talk about the massive plays that he made, obviously tonight, and then against Michigan in a game that ends up being a loss anyway. So, like, nobody's putting that much stock in that play individually. But
right,
like,
no. But I'm saying, like, if you think back, like that moment could have been up there with this one if it happened,
100%,
which is crazy.
Yeah,
and it's also crazy that he kind of got a second chance to do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's rare that you even get one play like that where like you turn the tide and like your team wins because of it. He now got two chances to do that. One of them, it just happens to send him to the national championship game.
Yeah, he's just it comes from the fact though that he's put in that spot so many times because he's been so consistent winning his pass rush this year.
Yeah.
Like he has been dominant off the edge, and you can point to the fact that it's maybe a little bit easier with how dominant they've been as a defense. Like he's not the only guy. There's pressure off of him, but like he wins his ones. Like if you're gonna put one guy on Jack Sawyer, he's been so good, especially down the stretch of this playoffs. That like you put yourself in a spot to make those plays because you are consistently winning your pass rush. And so when you're winning it over and over and over again, you end up sort of winning it on the big plays and putting yourself in a position to then make those plays. And tonight was another example of that. I do think it's interesting too, Spencer, what Radu and Brian said back to back there.
Which one?
About the national championship.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Radu, who always tunes in, we appreciate you, Radu. He says this was the national championship tonight. And Radu, and then where was the other one? Oh, Brian, I see. Right Brian, right above him. Brian Cato. This was the natty tonight. I saw a lot of people saying that on social media. I have some Notre Dame friends who I was texting with, and they were kind of saying like, yeah, I'm nervous about playing either of these teams. Like, I think they're both probably superior to Notre Dame. And it sounds like, at least based on what's in the chat, I haven't checked myself. Sounds like it's 9.5 is the spread.
Yeah, Circa came out and put it at 10. So
okay, yeah. So there you go. But just real quick to put sort of a bow on the Jack Sawyer part of this. Again, it's been so remarkable, and this season I think turns when what changed for this defense in particular this season was when the front four, led by largely Jack Sawyer and obviously JT, started being able to kind of generate pressure on their own. And you didn't have to rely so much on blitzing. Now they still do blitz. Like Cody Simon's a madman, and he's been making plays a lot. And Jim Knowles has been able to sort of dial those up at timely points in games, and it's helped them. But like when those two started being able to actually do the things that we thought they could do, and this front four kind of anchored by those two guys, started having their way with other teams. That's where I feel like the defense sort of flipped, and you saw the potential of this defense getting you to this stage, and they did that tonight. I mean, listen, the offense. And here's the other thing, because the Jack Sawyer play doesn't happen without the two plays before from Caleb Downs. And I don't know if you caught this in real time, Jake, because I don't know. Like, I know that was like right around when your show was probably ending, but like they're on the doorstep. You just got flagged for pass interference, so you're at the 1 yard line, 1 yard away from having a chance to tie the game up. They get stuffed on a run play, and then they run another run play that's kind of like a pitch out to the left. And Caleb Downs runs straight through, and I think it was Blue who was running it for Texas, who had a really good game. He caught the 2 touchdowns. And he like forces him further outside, and then I forget it was Cody Simon or Sonny Styles, but one of them cleans up that play, and you lose like 7 yards. And so now it's 3rd and 8. And as you know, Jake, like when you're in goal to go situations, the defense would rather have you in like 3rd and 8 than either like at the goal line or like 3rd and whatever from the 20, because there's so much more opportunity when the field's bigger, or it's just like you're at the 1 yard line, you're only a yard away from scoring. Like that freed up this defense to like be able to play, downhill and make the plays necessary and keep them out of the end zone. Like that play does not happen without Caleb Downs. And that again just epitomizes this defense, this team. Sometimes we quoted Lance Risland earlier this week, right? Like players over plays. Sometimes it's players over plays, man. And Caleb Downs, I think like he's had some incredible moments this year, but like he just continues to stun you and be like, my God, this guy is good. And it's not always like he doesn't make the big play like Jack did tonight all the time, but he makes the little plays that then set those things up. And it just reminds you how incredible he is that the Buckeyes were able to snag him in the transfer portal is just another remarkable part of this run in this team.
Yeah, players over plays is going to be ingrained in my vocabulary by the end of this season.
Thanks,
thank
Lance.
you, Lance Rison.
Shout out,
yeah,
Lance.
because like that's not something that you coach. That's not something that you design. That is Caleb Downs being a downhill like run stuffing safety where he looks at a play like that and instantly recognizes it. You can tell he's in the film room. He knows what's happening, and it's just a guy going to make a play. Like he's going to make the play because he's planting his flag. It's the second time I've used this week, but planting his flag in the ground saying, I'm better than you are, and I'm going to prove to you why right here, and I'm going to come up big for the team. And Caleb continues to do that time after time. This entire defense just, it stifles me. Like, I don't know how it happens. And to your point about the way that the pressure has opened up this defense to take it to the next level, look at the secondary. Like, I said that the secondary is going to be my main thing to hold me back.
Well, hey, and your boy Igbinosin did get called for a PI for grabbing tonight. So I thought as soon as that happened, I thought of you. I was like, oh, Jake's gonna have something to say about that one.
It drives me nuts. But I mean, when you think about it, though, like in this playoffs, relatively, you haven't heard a lot from Igbinosin. He still gets penalized here and there, like you said tonight. A massive play, of course. He's going to drag somebody to the ground because why wouldn't he? But you've been relatively quiet about hearing from him. What I thought was Denzel Burke being a burnt piece of toast half the time throughout this year. He's been like locked down.
But so Jake, real quick, when Denzel Burke is good, he's really good.
Yeah,
and then when Denzel Burke is bad, he's really bad. And that Oregon game, first time playing Oregon, he was bad. But ever since then, like he's gradually gotten into. I barely even heard his name called. Like he missed a tackle tonight. That was maybe his worst play he made. But like, and to your point though, Jake, like this all goes back to we single out Jack Sawyer and how great he's been. We single out Caleb Downs because he is easily. I mean, if you were to rank like the players on Ohio State, it probably goes Jeremiah Smith, Caleb Downs. No, were you in agreement on that? Like, you could flip them. It might be he might be one and Jeremiah might be two, just because he's a freshman and he's probably going to even get better. But like those are 1 and 2 on your roster right now. Like those two guys are just freak of nature athletes that just do incredible things. I mean, Caleb Downs, if him and Jeremiah could come out this year, they might be like both be top 5 picks. Like I'm not even kidding with how good they are. So, but to your so we single those guys out, yes. But it's been the entire. There was moments in this game where like part of the reason why Texas started relying on and Quinn started relying on like just dumping the ball off in the flats and on the checkdowns was because he was getting coverage sacked like a bunch in this game. 3 sacks in the first half, and a lot of it was like he'd stand there and nobody was getting open, and then Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau would just kind of collapse on him. So, like this entire playoff, same sort of thing applies to the entire defense. The coverage has been great. You haven't heard you haven't had to call out guys for making mistakes. They have been playing as one cohesive unit for a while now, but they've taken it up a notch during this playoff run. It's been awesome.
Yeah, as a unit, they're unstoppable right now. There's no other way. Like every single guy has stepped it up. And you mentioned the pressure today was incredible. Like Sonny Styles gets in there for a sack himself as well. Ty Hamilton adds a half sack to it. Like they are just as a unit better. And I can't remember what it was. It was one of the plays in the Oregon game that I was again just like stunned by because it was just every single time that there's a play being made, you run up the middle. It was somebody else breaking through every single time somebody new was making a play. And I just sat there and I was like, they can do no wrong. This defense specifically, like we'll get to the offense, I'm sure, here at some point, but like the defense specifically looks like they can do no wrong. They gave up 2 touchdowns on the exact same play. So, we might add that one to the arsenal. I think in the film room this week, we might look at that one twice and be like, all right, we're gonna make sure that when one of these things happens,
we're gonna start taking that away. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because if Notre Dame watches this and they decide to run that play,
listen, I'll give some credit to Quinn. On the flip side, because he recognized that was there, and it was like the one thing he had to sort of rely on, and they made this game tight because of that. And also Sark I think I think the world of Sark in college football. Like, he is probably top 3 play callers in college football. People might have to start putting Ryan Day in that conversation. Granted, I know technically Chip Kelly's calling the plays, but like they're working together on like designing this offense. But yeah, like I think Sark is a brilliant play caller. And listen, like he knew this was going to be a tall task tonight with this defense, and he found ways to get his offense to get on the board. He still found ways to get be able to get Quinn to make some plays. He had some injuries in this one that they had to deal with, but again, they found a way to have some success against them, and they put the pressure on Ohio State in a number of spots. So I think you do have to sort of tip your cap on some level to Texas for just the fact that they're a really good team themselves, and they gave their best effort, I think, to this Ohio State defense and this Ohio State team as a whole.
Yeah, I definitely tip your cap to Texas. I mean, defensively, I think they showed up more so than you or I both expected. Yeah. I don't know about on your side, but offensively,
yeah. So I think I was nervous about it. I was nervous about the defense, as we kind of talked about, I think, in the preview show, because I knew like their front seven was really good, and if they could disrupt Will a little bit, like there could be some problems. But I just thought like Ohio State's offense would be too much where it would like wear it down, and I think they played out of their minds. But on top of that, like obviously, and we'll talk about Ohio State shot themselves in the foot a lot too. So
yeah, but I mean they played relatively well for a team that was firing on all cylinders. Something had to have changed, right? You don't really change up a ton of the play calling. No. A lot of the stuff that you were doing was the same. Texas was taking away a lot of stuff, and I think in particular, taking away Jeremiah Smith. Like that was clearly their game plan was we're okay with losing this game as long as it's not by Jeremiah Smith. Somebody else has to beat us. You might have 3 NFL wide receivers. You're not going to use the one guy that's going to be there in 2 years. Go ahead and if you want to use Igbuka, if you want to use Carnell Tate, go ahead and do it. But I'm not losing to this guy.
No, yeah, that strategy was obvious. I do want to pivot to the offense along those lines here in a second. But the last thing I'll say on like the defensive side and what worked, like yes, Texas's defense played out of its mind, but also I thought Quinn. I felt like coming in like Texas was going to have to play like a near perfect game to win this thing, and Quinn played just about like a near perfect game. Like until the end when he threw that interception and obviously the strip sack fumble, like he was making some incredible plays. There was the play where he should have been sacked on the second touchdown drive, and he was like a centimeter away from his knee being down and somehow dumped it off to Blue, who made the play to get the first down and keep the sticks moving. Like again, game of inches. But I thought Quinn showed some poise tonight, and I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on Quinn and like make this whole soliloquy about him, but I honestly thought like when he transferred out of Ohio State, this was going to be like one of those like, screw him type things from Buckeyes fans. I actually have a lot of respect for Quinn. His story and like how he's talked about like why he came back to Texas, and he understood like CJ Stroud was so good he wasn't going to have a shot to play that next year. I think reclassifying into the 2021 class kind of ruined his chance to ever, play at Ohio State, unfortunately. Because if he had come out that next year and then only had to sit 1 year behind Stroud, he might have been the team's starting quarterback. But like, I don't know. I found like a lot of respect for Quinn, I think, this season, and I will be rooting for him at the next level. So I'll leave that there though. On the offensive side, as you said, Texas made a point in taking away Jeremiah Smith. And what's interesting, Jake, like that's the smart thing to do. And what I was worried about was, and it happened, was that Will Howard at some point was going to try to force the ball to Jeremiah Smith. And just do the thing that they were begging you to do. Like at some point, he's just going to try it and we'll get a play out of it. And they did. They got the interception. Luckily, because the defense is so good, they slammed the door and got the ball back. But like that was what I was worried about. And it was so stupid to me because the other stuff was working. Like you were finding success just dumping it off to G. Scott and finding Emeka Egbuka crossing over the middle and getting Quinshawn Judkins kind of running downhill or running outside or even checking it down to him. I thought at times I think that Will tested it the one time and he got a little too anxious about it and was like, I got to get him the ball at some point, and it didn't work. And then he went back to doing what was working. But yeah, like I think Texas kind of put the blueprint out there of like, and I don't know that Notre Dame has like the same talent level to do what Texas did. I mean, Texas has really good secondary against Jeremiah Smith, but yeah, like taking him away clearly is the game plan if you're Notre Dame, because you want to basically limit like the options and say, we're going to let anybody beat us but this guy, and hope that you can get some pressure on Will Howard and force him into some mistakes.
Yeah, I think in maybe a little bit in defensive Will, but like when you got Jeremiah Smith on the field, that's always option number one, right? Even if they're taking him away.
Yeah.
Like hard still to just sit there and not track him with your eyes and be like, well, you might be taking him away. You might just win this thing anyway. Like against Oregon, he was triple covered. You toss it up anyway, and it worked in your favor. Like you can't always just like, yes, it's a bad throw. They were taking him away. Everything else was working. I also think to some degree that's a very easy from the sky view and watching on the TV to be like, why wouldn't you just keep going? When you got Jeremiah Smith in the room, it's like same thing with if Matt Stafford had Calvin Johnson in Detroit. I'm probably going to try to throw the ball to Calvin at some point. Like, you got to go for it. And Texas capitalized. You mentioned the defense came up big. Taking away Jeremiah Smith is a win, a way to help you get a win. I don't know that Notre Dame's, one, going to be able to do that, and two, that Ohio State didn't just show you we have a chance to learn from our mistakes. It wasn't perfect. Like, obviously, this is not as strong as the game as we would have liked, but I still beat you without him. Like,
well,
if you're going to commit that much to taking him away, and you want to play one-on-one at Cardinal Tate, you want to play one-on-one in Emeka Egbuka, they're going to win there too. G. Scott will be open. Travion Henderson will be open. Judkins will be. Somebody will find their way open.
So this is a brilliant point by you, Jake, and I think this is why, to me, this game feels so monumental, because for so many years, Ryan Day loses that game, right?
Yeah.
Like, because you take away their strength and they just can't figure it out, and then he gets in a tight spot and he fumbles it. Like, not literally fumbles it, but like he fumbles the game away. For them to have seen what Jeremiah Smith did the first two games and know, like, all right, that's our strength. And everyone's sitting there scratching their heads like, why the hell wasn't this the game plan against Michigan? As we know, not to revisit that, but like Texas takes that away. Okay. All right, they have the talent. They have Texas was the team we both said of the teams left. We were the most worried about Texas being able to knock off the Buckeyes because talent for talent, they had the closest kind of comp to Ohio State. They took away your best player on offense, and what were you going to do? How were you going to come out on the other side of that? Were you going to find a way to win, or were you going to do the Ryan Day Ohio State thing where you fumble the game away and you get in a tight spot and it's just too much for you and you lose and you drop the ball again? They didn't do that. They came out the other side. They found other way. And again, you have this wealth of talent. Like you do, you can't get so and that's the thing I do give Will Howard credit for. Like he made the one mistake and he was like, all right, fine. If I can't go to Jeremiah, I'll hit the other guys. Like I'll just take what they're giving me. And he took what they gave him and it worked. Like that's the thing that I think makes this such a monumental win, even more so than Oregon, even more so than Tennessee, for Ryan Day, for this program. Because it felt like they were, since they won their last championship, it just felt like they were stuck in this like rut where every time they got in a big game like this and things got tight and things got tough and you met an opponent that could take away something that you do well, they didn't have the answers. And tonight they had the answers, largely because their talented players made plays. But man, like that drive after Texas tied it up where Ohio State went down to take the lead, that showed me a lot about this team, about Ryan Day. Because like that's usually where they folded. They usually like go 3 and out, give the ball back, and then we all know what happens from there. The other team wins. I was blown away by their resolve in this game. And to your point, Jake, I'm glad you said what you said. That's why this game feels like it's the biggest and most important for. Obviously, it's big because you go to play for a national championship now, and it's the biggest to this point. But like, no, for the program, for Ryan Day to get that monkey off his back, for a team to really just put all the negative stuff behind them from this year and the coming up short against Michigan and all that, like this felt like the game that they needed to just reverse a lot of those narratives about them.
Yeah, and I know I've said this before, but I want to just hammer it home again that the Michigan game felt like a launching pad. And it's not going to be a result of the Michigan game, but actually everything after it.
No, Jake, no, dude, go off. Seriously, like get on your soul, because I think we can't talk about this moment right now without going back and talking about that moment right there. I'm dead serious. Like I think this has to be part of this podcast tonight.
Like it is part of the launching pad because you went and you hammered home. You tried to do what the right thing in the game and you lost. We've been through that. Like after that moment, Ryan Day learned to adjust. It was, okay, clearly what we're doing right now is not working. We need to go back and we need to genuinely assess what we have done and why it hasn't worked. Let's go back through and actually make an adjustment and try to learn from this. And they did that, right? Then it was, okay, let's pass to set up the run. Let's get Jeremiah Smith more involved. I think something that Ohio State doesn't often have to do, because they were in moments in college football playoffs where it's a one and done. Right? It's 4 teams. You lost in the first round. There's no real adjustment from that. Your season is over. Your team is done. You lost to Michigan. Your season over. Your team is done. You had the opportunity to correct that this year. And you did against Georgia as well. But again, it feels like a one and done moment where you lost a really close game against a good team. It felt like this year they took it and they tried to learn from it. And they finally unlocked for Ryan Day a sense of an ability to adjust and change on the fly and actually go back and recognize your mistakes, because you don't do that in the years past where you're in this spot.
Well, and you don't get to do that because there's not a 12-team playoff. You know what I mean? Right.
So you never really had to learn this ability to, you ran through the regular season, right? Like you lost a game here or there, but Ryan Day's been so dominant in the regular season that's why it feels like you lose the big games, because the only games you're losing are the big ones.
Yeah.
And then it's like, how do I make adjustments from that? I'm just losing close games or not close games to some of the best teams in the country. At times you have to put yourself in the coach's shoes, I think, and realize the adjustments that are hard to make from that. It's like, hey, we just got beat. No, you didn't get beat. You didn't adjust. You didn't play to your team's strengths. And when you lose to a 6-6 Michigan team, it's a lot easier to see that, I think, and open their eyes of, oh my God, like, we need to just revamp this whole thing and just lean into what we're good at. You saw that then, obviously, from Michigan to your first 2 college football playoff games. And I think it honestly opened the mind a lot for Ryan Day to go from, hey, just because this is what works, okay, let's adjust on the fly. Let's be able to be adaptive and be able to change things and just say, hey, they're taking away Jeremiah Smith. Okay, hey, Will, let's go. Carnell's open. Emeka's open. Let's scheme those guys open and use the fact that they're taking away Jeremiah Smith to sort of open up our offense.
It's incredibly well said by you, Jake. And yeah, like we are not here tonight, you and I doing this podcast, Buckeyes fans jumping in, celebrating, doing the whole, victory parade type thing in the comment section without the loss to Michigan. Like I wholeheartedly believe that. I'm not going to ask this tonight. This might be a fun thing for a future episode, but like, do we owe a thank you to Michigan? Could be a topic on the docket at some point. But Jake, like, I'm dead serious, man. Like, they don't get here without that. And we've heard so much now after the fact, like about the team meeting that took place after that game, like where it was players only and Ryan Day involved. And, I had conversations with people in local media here in Cleveland, and we sort of said, like, that moment is either going to become like a breaking point where they all turn on each other because they're all just upset with how this went and they think their coach can't do it, and he's got this mental block, or it was going to become a rallying cry and a point of like them kind of coming together and using it to their advantage. And the beautiful thing about this 12-team playoff is that you kind of get a second season. You get a chance to respond to something that's a difficult situation. And Ryan Day actually, I told you before we jumped on here, one of the last things I was waiting for was I wanted to hear Ryan Day's like post game immediately on the field comments. And he taught, I forget his exact comments. There's no way I'm going to say it word for word, but it was something along the lines, again, paraphrasing, where he said, adversity is something that you can like, it tells a lot about how you respond to adversity or whatever. And basically relating that to like how his team responded to it. And again, like, the proof is in the pudding, man. Like I'm going to restate it. They are not here tonight without that loss to Michigan. That clicked something. That clicked something with this group. Probably, and I also don't like without the guys returning. You're not here, obviously because the talent level that they bring, but also because like it was those guys who led the meeting, and those are the guys who are like, we came back for something. We know we can do this, and so it's like, do you want to go out with nothing? Or do you want to go out in a blaze of glory with a chance to win a national championship? They took pride in that. So on some level, like Ryan Day is going to have to answer for the Michigan thing. He's good. Like at some point, he's got to get over that hurdle. And maybe next year's finally the year. We'll see next November. We don't have to worry about that right now. But I think like you can't walk away from this feeling anything but like impressed and re-energized around Ryan Day for the ability he has had to get this team back on track after what was this is not hyperbole, maybe the worst loss in the rivalry, like for Ohio on the Ohio State side of things in the history of that rivalry. Like that was devastating. And they think about how far we're not that far removed, Jake, from coming on this podcast and like laughing at Ryan Day for the despondent look on his face as Michigan was planting the flag in the field and not knowing what happened. And now it's like a Ryan Day who's hugging Jack Sawyer and smiling as they ride off to the national championship. It's crazy, but I think it all also just adds to this amazing story that we're sort of watching unfold. And it's what makes sports and honestly what makes college football special and great in that way too.
Yeah, I can just see the edit now of the
30 for 30.
No, the despondent. This could be a TikTok. We're not. Well, this is no level of 30 for 30.
We're not going too deep with it. Yeah, we're not going as deep as doing a 30 for 30 on Ohio State. No, it's just a TikTok.
No, just the despondent look on Ryan Day's face.
Okay, Ryan Day's turned the program around, but he's still only worthy of TikTok. He's not worth a 30 for 30.
Beat Michigan, you can get a 30 for 30. No, but it'll be the despondent look on his face, and then like the quick little like the flashes of like something happening. It'll be the Jack Sawyer strip sack. It'll be a Jeremiah Smith touchdown, and then all of a sudden it'll be the Buckeyes playing in the national championship, hopefully lifting the trophy, and just the complete turnaround that he has. Again, I don't know how a single loss, and you go from immediately after that loss looking like the most, I'm going to use another word here, but most lost person in the world, just standing on the sideline not knowing what happened, to like within a couple of weeks using it as the complete X factor of your season, and he completely became a new coach, a fully new coach, and it made no sense, but I'll take it every single time, and it translates into a win against Texas in a game that I thought was probably going to be, from a game script, more lopsided. From a score, Spencer, I missed the prediction by 3 points. I'm pretty sure I said 31-14. I think I was somewhere around there. I'm pretty sure that's what I had.
Yeah, I said 34-24, so I was off, but I think you did say 31-14. Look at you, Jake. You got to go play the lotto tonight or something, or just get on FanDuel and play some bets.
I'll play the pick 3 and I'll miss them all by 3 points, so all by 3 numbers.
But no, you're right. And listen, we already said it on the preview episode. After the win over Oregon, I think Ryan Day's job was safe. But at the end of this, if this ends with a natty in 10 days from now, I guess almost 9 days, because we're like 2 minutes away from midnight. We probably owe Ryan Day an apology.
And not even extension, Spencer.
Not even just us specifically, but like Ohio State fans. Everybody is going to owe this man an apology, with the caveat of like, we're sorry, you're a good coach, but please beat Michigan this time. Like that's going to be the thing. Right. But like, yeah, you're right. Like he has transformed who he is as a coach. And the biggest thing I hope that this does for him, assuming that, again, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. If it ends with a championship, I hope that it just it lifts this weight off of his shoulders, and it allows him to be just more free as a coach and not be tight when he's in these spots anymore, and not be tight when he's playing Michigan anymore. That is my hope for Ryan Day after however this kind of ends from here, because again, all the narratives about how he can't win the big games and all that, that's all going out the window with every game they win in this college football playoff. A couple other things I did want to hit on just from this game in general. Will Howard, I thought, was what you needed him to be. He wasn't necessarily great, but he made some big throws and big moments. That drive that they scored on to take the lead, he made a really nice throw towards the sideline to Carnell Tate with some pressure in his face, kind of rolling. This again, the players overplays thing. Will Howard was brought in because they felt like they liked his poise and his ability to kind of like have a short memory and make the plays you needed to in big moments. And they just surrounded him with talent. And he has gotten better and better, I think, as the season's gone on, of like realizing that and not letting problems perpetuate on themselves or become bigger issues. So yeah, he had the interception, but he learned from it. And he started just going back to Carnell Tate and Emeka Ibuka and G. Scott and Quinshon Judkins, and it leads to a touchdown drive, and then you get out of there with a win. What were your thoughts on Will?
Can I quote Lance Reisland again? Is this going to be the Lance Reisland quote episode? But you can say plays. You can also say Will Howard, a quarterback that you don't win because of, but you win with.
Yeah.
He did everything he needed to be.
It's funny. It's funny you say that though, because like in some ways I do kind of feel like the last 2 games you were winning, maybe not totally because of him, but also because of him, because he was making some good throws.
It was, but again, it's not that he's this dump off machine.
No.
That's not what it is. It's just, hey, we need you to be accurate. We don't need you to, launch a ball 75 yards on a dime in the triple coverage and drop it in a window. It's like you're gonna have players that get open. Hit those open players, occasionally make a good throw, we'll win football games. And that's what he's been. And it's not a knock on Will Howard, by the way. Like, you're probably looking at a, 3rd-round pick, 4th-round pick for Will Howard?
Probably something like that. Draft. Yeah, someone to take a flyer on him and see what he can bring to the table, and he might be a backup in the league.
Right. He's going to be on a team that needs talent around him.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's not even, again, it's not a knock. Like, quarterbacks make a living. Brock Purdy's going to get paid a massive extension in the NFL for having players around him and being able to hit his spots. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. And I do think that probably is a pretty good projection for Will going to the next level. I also want to talk about Chip Kelly. And I guess Ryan Day sort of gets lumped into this a little bit as kind of the offensive-minded guys here. But I'll tell you this. The drive they scored the touchdown on to take the lead 21-14. I think that was maybe one of the key. There's a number of moments you could point to as like key moments in the game. But first play of that drive, I forget the exact yardage on the play, but it was a pass play. And I said to myself, if this was going to go the way of the Michigan game, that would have been a run play. Like, because they kind of gotten in this lull of like, we're going to try to run, and they were just getting stuffed. Like Texas's defense was just like in this groove. They were just stopping everything. Like there was no sense in trying to run. And I was like, if they try to run the ball again on first down and soften them up, like they're doing it again. They're doing the thing they did against Michigan. Like it's all replaying in my head. They threw a pass. They got a positive gain. They marched down the field. It was a really impressive drive. They score a touchdown to take the lead. And actually, I'm pulling it up right now. It was
on the first play.
It was 13 plays, 88 yards, and it was 7:45 at the time of possession. Like, was it DPI? Yeah, you're right. You're right. It was he chucked it up to Emeka. That's what it was. But still, it was the fact that they took a shot on first down of like, hey, we're going to throw the ball here. We're not going to just run the ball into the middle of this great front seven again. But again, that drive was a big boy drive, and it told me a lot about them. And also another play on that drive, the 4th down conversion with Will Howard as the guy keeping the ball. Chip Kelly's talked about keeping like that stuff in his back pocket, and he pulled it out at the perfect time. So this, like, I know there was a comment earlier. I think it was Radu who had it, who said he didn't necessarily think that, or no, it was, sorry, it's right here. Christopher Myers. He said, I felt like Day and Kelly didn't adjust. Thankfully, the D stepped up. I actually think that drive sort of showed me a team that did adjust. Maybe it took a while to get there, but I did feel like Chip and Ryan Day did a better job of kind of adjusting to the moment, especially late when they really needed to put something together.
Yeah, I thought clearly, like you said, they would have been running that ball anytime into the Michigan game or before it, trying to drain the clock, trying to grind this one out when, again, your strength is throwing the football. So what do? They throw the football. They end up in a 3rd and, I think, 8, and you go 18 yards to Cardinal Tate. Like, you just throw the ball, and it actually works out. One of the plays, by the way, slightly off topic, but did Arch or Quinn, whoever was, I think it was Arch running the ball, did he fumble?
That's funny you bring that up.
I was watching the play over and over again. And
I thought it was a fumble.
I thought so too.
In real time, I thought it was a fumble. On the replay, I thought it was a fumble. It was very similar to the Quinn Ewers like dump off pass, where it was like so close that it really could have gone either way. And I think I was texting somebody, and they were like, "They're not going to call it a fumble because it's Arch." They're like, "It's a Manning. They're not going to call it a fumble." But it was really close. Like his forearm's kind of going down, but his elbow's still up, and then the ball's coming out, and then his elbow goes down, and it was like bang bang. But that's a good thought by you, because I did think that was a potential turning point in the game.
Yeah, I was staring at it, and I was like, did he fumble this thing or not? And then we had to go back here, and I missed what actually the result of the play was. But that was close. But yeah, no, I thought that Chip and Ryan Day as a whole adjusted pretty well in this game. I don't think you can –
yeah,
we're picking bones if we're thinking that in a game where they come down late and score a touchdown on a long drive, we're not adjusting. Like it was 28-14, a defensive touchdown. I think that you have to just take the win where you got it, and they adjusted and they did okay.
Well, and let's be honest too. There was moments in this game, Jake, and again, I know that like early in your show when you were hosting, this was all kind of transpiring. And this was probably the biggest problem of the night. The penalties. I mean, they shot themselves in the foot. I mean, honestly, like the Travion Henderson headbutt that ended their second drive of the game, that felt like it was going to end up being like the turning point that cost Ohio State a chance for the national championship. Because after that play, it was like the next 3 drives, I think they had holding calls against them that set them back and cost them. And they were moving the ball on Texas that drive. And then they were like 2nd and 24, and they couldn't dig themselves out of it. And it was like they had to punt. And I wondered if that was going to like change the game completely. And that was going to be the thing we look back on. Like if Travion Henderson, who doesn't usually do stupid stuff like that, like he's gonna, that's the play that's going to cost you a shot at the Natty. I felt that way for large chunks of this game, because then the offense was just stuck in a rut. But that was, I think, the biggest thing. Like you walk away from this game, like they got lucky in a lot of ways, because they really could have, given this game away with the number of times they just shot themselves in the foot with boneheaded, stupid penalties. I mean, some of those things are going to happen. Igbinosun's probably good for at least one DPI in a game. It's just how he is. Like one holding call. Although I did see like Texas hasn't been called for a holding in like 4 months. Is that true? I think I saw a stat where they haven't been called for a holding in like 4 months, which was wild to me, because like Ohio State got called for 3 in 3 consecutive drives. And then I literally saw on the first touchdown pass that Quinn threw, I forget who was rushing. It actually might have been Edric Houston. I could be wrong on that, but he got held like bad. And I was like, they didn't call holding on that, but they were calling holding on Ohio State all these plays. It was again, I could be wrong about that stat, but somebody was making it out to be like Texas hasn't been called for a holding in a really long time. But there was luck on sort of both sides in that way. Like some calls, Ohio State got away with a hold on a big play on that touchdown drive that gave them the lead. So, but yeah, the penalties tonight were, I would say, the thing that you walk away feeling the most concerned about.
Yeah. I just feel like at times there's games where that happens. Again, like the unsportsmanlike, those are kind of unpredictable. Like you're going to discipline your player for it. I'm sure Travion will get a nice little, talking to in the meeting room. I'm sure when they're going over film, being like that right there, we don't do that. Like, that is the one thing that can sort of put your team down. But there's just certain games, I think, where it comes out and is a bit more of a bear. Again, I almost view that as a positive, not the penalties in general.
They got it out of the way.
Yeah, like you get the penalties out of your way, and you also win a game where you are the more penalized team. You do feel like the more undisciplined team. Like those are also signs of a really good football team, is that you
players
overcome. Yeah, like you overcome these stupid mistakes. You overcome the lack of discipline, and you rise above it. Again, it takes that sort of players over plays. It takes a Jack Sawyer making a massive play. It takes Caleb Downs making a couple of massive plays. The guys on offense stepping up. But, like, that's the way you're built. Like, you just have stars all around you that can bring you out of that. Would you love to be disciplined and avoid the penalties? Sure. But
it's easy to say that after they win, though. If they had lost, we would have been sitting here like, these effing penalties. I'm trying not to swear tonight because I'm in a good mood. But, yeah, like it would have been a different story, obviously. But I think you are right in that Ohio State was probably due for a game like that, because everything had gone too well the first 2 games. Like they weren't getting flagged for anything. They were just up and down the field.
34 unanswered against.
Right. Like they were just torching teams. And so tonight, where it's like they were due for like a slog where they had to kind of gut it out. And like I said, I think the biggest difference is normally those games where it's a slog and you got to gut it out, they lose. Tonight they came out on top and they found a way to win. And I will say this about Travion Henderson, to quote Dumb and Dumber, just when I think you couldn't be any more stupid, you go and do this and totally redeem yourself with the 75. I mean, that play was awesome. And that, dude, it's the theme of the show. Maybe that's what we actually need to make the name of this show, Players Over Plays, because we've said it a million times in the show. That was a prime example of players over plays. Like 70, all Texas has to do there is like get out of there, go to the half, you got a tie game. And you give up a 75-yard touchdown to Travion Henderson, and that changes the entire complexion of this thing when you go into the second half. Like that was an insane play, well-deserved for Travion. He deserved a moment. He had a moment in the Oregon game, but he deserved like a moment like that in this game. And so it was cool to see him sort of pull that off as well.
Yeah, it is massive. I mean, just being able to bounce back again, the redemption arc is actually it's impressive to see in
Everybody's
that
getting
short
a
of a
piece of
span.
everyone's getting a
Yeah,
piece of the redemption arc. It just seems
right. Like, yeah, go ahead. Honestly, for a lot of you, mess up now. Like, get it out of the way early in the national championship game because good karma is going to roll back around. It's just the way that everything's going in a way right for this team at the end of the day. That if you're going to do something bad, do it early. Do it early. So, like, give them some time to have good karma come.
Along the lines of some of the drive stalling out, Brian Cato said earlier, a game really should have been a blowout if we didn't if we didn't beat ourselves on offense. I think that's very true. We just talked about the penalty. Radu said the Henderson penalty drove me nuts. Michaela Marie says Ryan Day for governor. That is quite the we talk about redemption arcs. That is quite the redemption arc that we have gone from fire Ryan Day, launch
Ryan
this
Day
man into the sun.
No.
He needed security at his house to now he should be governor of Ohio.
What a spot we've gone
dude,
to.
what a wild month it's been for Ryan freaking Day, man. Like from hiring he's going to go from having to hire security guards at his house to make sure his family can be safe to never having to buy a drink, dinner, anything in the state of Ohio ever again. Like if he wins a national championship, like this is one of the greatest redemption arcs of all time. Like within a month, it's been a little over a month, Jake. Like that is insane to me, but that's where we're at with the Ryan Day storyline. So yeah, we'll see how much longer it goes.
Yeah, we said he was fired unless he won a national championship. I know we've stepped that back, but the guy just damn well might win a national championship. That was sort of like almost tongue in cheek when we said it because like they ain't winning a national championship.
Yeah, because we just didn't think it was going to happen.
Bozos. Look at the way they're playing.
These
football.
Idiots that just lost to Michigan. Come on, man, they ain't winning a natty. Come on.
Right, like I'm pretty sure I said I don't see them winning a national championship playing like this. I didn't think they were going to come out and play the way they did. So let me eat my words really quick. Let me take a step back.
Insane. Like again, like Hollywood couldn't have. Hollywood is all about redemption arcs. I don't even think they could script this one. I mean, this one is just too good. Within a month span, you go from my family might be in danger to we love this guy and let's put him on our shoulders and try to get him to run for election, public office. Like that's insane.
This is basically remember the Titans, right? I mean, minus a couple of key components there that go into that, but it's like
I'd like to think we're a little further along with our civil rights than
I
remember the Titans was. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I hope we're at least a little further along.
I said we missed some key components. I was leaving that part out. I break through the window to winning a bunch of games and having the town support you.
Do you think that team meeting they had after the Michigan game was just them getting in a circle saying strong side and like yelling at each other back and forth?
No, I think it was the where they all walk in and it's the
that's what they were doing after the meeting. That's what they do when they walk in the stadiums now. They're doing the everywhere you go. Yeah, that's what they're doing now.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here, Jake, with a real quick, and this should be pretty easy because I think we've already identified the big ones. Like it, love it, leave it. I think we haven't done this in a while because we've just been talking about other things. But we'll start with let's start with the negative. We'll start with the leave it from this game, Jake. We're going to end on a positive note today.
Can I go with the entire first half that wasn't the final 15 seconds? Can I leave that entirety of the game?
Inject that final 15 seconds into your veins, but everything else, you just leave.
Yeah, it was slow as hell. I'm looking up at the TV. I'm like, 7-0. Where was the team that hung 34 in the first half on Oregon? Where was the team that came out the gates and dropped, 21 in the first quarter against Tennessee? Like, you guys disappear? Did you go to bed? Like, time to wake up. But yeah, no, you clearly got past that. That you eventually sort of woke up and started playing a little bit of offense. But yeah, I'll leave the first half. Let's not do that in the national championship.
Yeah, I mean, I think the obvious answer is the penalties. Like, let's leave those in Texas. But along those lines, can I just leave this officiating crew? Because I think the fix was kind of in on this one. Like, I wondered if these guys were, I don't know. I'm not going to be like conspiracy theory guy. That's a little irresponsible of me. But there was that one play where, was it the arch play? No, there was a different play where Quinn ran and got tackled short of the first down. And they gave him the first down by like 2 yards. And I was like, what was that spot? And then between that and the discrepancy on the holding calls, I don't know. I'm a little weary if that officiating crew was in on Texas. I know they like to get like non-competing conference crews. So I don't know if that was like a Big 12 crew that was like, hey, we've always liked Texas. We've called Texas games before. So they were like helping them out. Although maybe the Big 12 would actually be mad at Texas, so they wouldn't do that. But I don't know what was going on, but it felt like the fix was kind of in for Texas at times. I'm just saying.
Or Spencer, maybe they were Conference USA refs, and those guys might be blind anyway. So,
with that said, let's go to our like it for the game. I'll let you go first again, Jake.
I actually had this one picked out from the beginning of the show, the Travion Henderson redemption. To go from quite literally punching somebody in the face, practically open hand punch, to going 75 yards.
No, it wasn't even a punch. It was a headbutt. It was, well, I guess it was a punch and a headbutt. He kind of like put his helmet and his, yeah.
Yeah, he swung the arm after.
Yeah, it was both.
The flags came flying and he redeemed himself. And by the way, I feel like the game's so much different if you don't go into the half 14-7.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like that was a play that on a drive where you had like 15 seconds to do anything, that you turned it into a lead going into the half.
Yeah, that huge momentum swing. And if they had scored out of the break and not thrown the interception, who knows? Like this game could have turned a different way really quickly. But yeah, that was cool to kind of get the redemption arc there. But which, by the way, you said like if they go into the half not with the lead, it changes. Let me just say, this was probably the most stressful game I've ever watched as a Buckeyes fan. I'm not even kidding. I put it up there with watching the Clemson Ohio State game in 2020 because my wife and I were at, or I guess it was technically 2019 because I think that one was on New Year's Eve or something like that. But my wife and I were on our honeymoon for that one, and we were watching the game at like this bar, and I was like getting so mad. And I was like pacing around at the bar we were at. We ended up going back to our resort room. She fell asleep, and Ohio State started coming back, and then she woke up and they lost the game. And I blamed her for waking up at a bad time, and that was why they lost. But like this was up there. Like this surpassed that. Like I was stress eating. We had a bunch of appetizers at our house. It was a real problem. So yeah, it was a stressful game for me. And I talked about superstitions, by the way, the other night on the show when I was hosting, and I said that we were like wearing the same, attire and all that. I ended up being upstairs in our bedroom watching the game at the end, and she was downstairs with my mother-in-law watching the game, and because it was working, and then that's how they won. So I don't know if for the next game we're going to be like starting that way, but that's how we ended at least tonight. So, but real quick, I'll say my like it for the game was actually this one's kind of fun. The shots of Ryan Day, like running down the sidelines, celebrating the big plays and the touchdowns. He looks like a completely different person from the despondent guy after the Michigan game. And I'm enjoying it for him. I'm actually really happy for Ryan Day in those moments. And that brings us to our love it for the game. I think we got to just like take one or the other here. I'm going to take, I'll do the other one. I'll take Caleb Downs and say I love the play he makes to set up the scoop and score play. And just the fact that I thank God every day that he transferred to Ohio State.
Yeah, I'll take I love the scoop and score play. That Jack Sawyer, thank you very much. I love it.
We started the show with Jack Sawyer. We ended the show with Jack Sawyer. That's why it's a fitting title. I don't know if my bosses at Odyssey are going to approve of this title, but for now, this is the title because it has to be. I mean, there's no other reaction. I mean,
yeah, that's pretty much what I said as the play was going down. So I'll add on one more. Love it. A national championship, Spencer. We're playing for a national championship in 10 days.
It does feel really, really good to be playing for a national championship. So we'll have plenty of time to preview it. We will do that next week. I actually hope we can drop a couple episodes because we got a whole week plus to sort of do this thing. Maybe we'll get Lance back on since we gave him so many shout outs on this one. He can break down the tape for us. We'll try to get a Notre Dame reporter of some sort. And yeah, we want to get you ready for this game. And I let me just say, like, I'm grateful for those who have followed the show throughout the year, but I'm grateful especially that we get to keep doing this. Not that we wouldn't have episodes beyond, but I just like, I'm blown away by getting to do this and like talk about these games in real time. It's fun to do this when they win. When they lose, you get a different side of me that wouldn't be very fun. But I'm enjoying this ride. Again, I'm glad we get to do it together. And we look forward to hopefully doing this again as a post game after they win a national championship. Until then, please like, follow, subscribe, review the podcast wherever you get your podcast. Apple, Spotify, the Odyssey app. Did I mention the Apple podcast as well? and at the 92 to the Fan YouTube channel, where most of you are probably watching this right now. You can find some of our other episodes there as well. And as I said, we will be back with more episodes to come, getting you ready for the big one, the national championship against Notre Dame. Appreciate you guys, and a very, very hearty go Bucks from me.
Go Bucks.